Welcome to 21st Sports recap and reaction for the Indianapolis Colts versus the Buffalo Bills Week 1 matchup in the 2015 NFL season. We're going to go over the stats and the scoring summary and give our analysis. If you'd like a more in-depth breakdown of the game, leave a comment in the comment section below and we'll do our best to oblige. But let's start off by going over the scores in this game. And it started off late in the first quarter, just 1 second left. The final play of the first quarter, Tyrod Taylor hits Percy Harvin. He goes 51 yards all the way to the house. And with the extra point by Dan Carpenter, it was 7-0 Buffalo over Indianapolis after one. Then in the second quarter, about midway through, Dan Carpenter would add another 3 points with a 41-yard field goal, and it was 10-0 Buffalo. Then with just less than a half a minute left before halftime, Carlos Williams runs it 26 yards for the touchdown. Carpenter adds the extra point, and it's 17-0 Buffalo heading into the locker rooms at halftime. Then in the third quarter, Booby Dixon punches it in from a yard out, and Dan Carpenter has the extra point, and it was 24-0 Buffalo. Hooray for Booby. And so then, with a minute left in the third quarter, Indianapolis finally gets on the scoreboard as Andrew Luck hits Dante Moncrief for a 2-yard touchdown. They go for 2 points, and Luck finds Fleener, and now it was 24-8. So they would need to have 2 more touchdowns with 2-point conversions if they were to tie the game, as they were now down by 16 points headed into the fourth quarter. But then Dan Carpenter hit a 45-yard field goal, and that made it 27-8 Buffalo as they add a little padding to their lead. And then the Colts would get in the end zone once again with less than 6 minutes left to play in this game as Luck hit Dwayne Allen for a 6-yard touchdown. They went for the 2-point conversion, but the attempt failed as he was looking for his newly acquired receiver, Andre Johnson. But instead it would be 27-14, and that would be the final score as the Bills hold on to win this one. And what a huge performance by Rex Ryan's defense. And actually, Tyrod Taylor, although he didn't put up big numbers, if you would have told me going into this game that Andrew Luck would have had more turnovers than Tyrod Taylor, I would have not been sure what you were thinking. Of course, I did expect Luck to have some turnovers in this game, but I was surprised at how well Tyrod Taylor took care of the ball. And his completion percentage, although he wasn't asked to do too much, they didn't pass the ball too much. That was a big part of why they had success in this game, is because they were putting more of an onus on the run. Is Taylor, he threw 14 of 19 for 195 yards and 1 touchdown, no interceptions. So Taylor, I thought he looked kind of nervous early on, but he took care of the ball and he didn't turn it over, and he was, completing his passes, although he didn't throw it that many times. On the other side, Andrew Luck, he threw it almost 50 times, 26 for 49, 243 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And that's the thing with Luck, he's going to, get in the end zone. And against Buffalo, I figured with their defense being what it is, that he would throw some interceptions. As Luck, he takes those chances. But really the surprise to me is that Tyrod Taylor had a better completion percentage, and with just 19 attempts, had almost the same amount of yards, like less, only 48 yards less than Luck, who threw the ball 49 times. Luck threw it 30 more times and only had 48 more yards. That's less than 2 yards per pass attempt more there. I mean, it's crazy. So, but you got to give that, the credit to Rex Ryan in that defense. And that defense is stellar, especially up front. One of the best front lines in all of football. So very impressive win for Buffalo here against a tough Colts team. I did think they had a chance, but I thought that the Colts would pull this one out just because of the inexperience at quarterback for Buffalo. But Tyrod Taylor, very impressive. Although, like I said, not like not big numbers, not big production. But when you have that good of a defense, and when you're running the ball like the way they were, although they didn't have any big performance necessarily individually on the ground, collectively the Bills did a good job of running the ball. And when you got a good defense and when you can run the ball, all you have to do at quarterback is just don't turn it over, So That was impressive, game plan by Buffalo. They did everything they had to do to win this game, and that's why they did win this game. And on the ground, it's actually Carlos Williams, who was the leading rusher in the game with 6 attempts for 55 yards. He had 1 touchdown. Very impressive performance by him, although just 55 yards, but off of 6 attempts. Of course, with that 26-yarder. And then McCoy, 17 attempts for 41 yards. Not, big production in terms of per carry, but, he definitely did contribute. And he also had another 46 yards in receptions, off of 3 receptions. So he had 87 total yards in the game in his first game in Buffalo. And Tyrod Taylor was actually tied with LeSean McCoy in rushing yards. He had 41 rushing yards as well off of 9 attempts. A lot of that was him just taking off out of the backfield once he felt the pressure in the pocket. Like I said, a lot better for him to take off, even if he only gets a yard, is better than throwing an interception. So that's, a big plus there with Tyrod Taylor, that he might be a little quick to run out of the pocket, but that's a lot better than throwing an errant pass that gets picked off on the other side. And Percy Harvin, he had 5 receptions, 79 yards in his first game as a Bill. He also had a touchdown, and he had 1 run for 9 yards as well. And then Clay, 4 receptions for 43 yards. Now on the other side, on the ground, Frank Gore, not really very productive at all, just 8 carries for 31 yards. Luck actually had 4 carries for 20 yards. And then for the receivers, T.Y. Hilton, 7 receptions for 88 yards. It's all right, but you would expect more out of T.Y. Of course, against this Buffalo defense, it's always tough to get anything out of any kind of offensive production. Moncrief had 6 receptions for 46 yards. Dorsett, 2 receptions for 45 yards. And Andre Johnson in his first game, just 4 receptions for only 24 yards. And Allen, the tight end, 3 receptions for 17 yards, and he had the other touchdown there. So then Dan Carpenter, actually very impressive. Especially, it's tough to kick in Buffalo. Right there, they got quite the breeze coming in always. They're right by, the Great Lakes and Niagara Falls. And so Dan Carpenter, 2 for 2 for field goals, including a 45-yarder. And he was 3 for 3 for the extra points, which, that's a 33-yard field goal now. So very impressive day by Carpenter. And Vinatieri, the only kick he attempted, he missed. And that was a field goal, and they didn't even have him go out there for the extra points, because at that point they were so far behind they just had to go for 2. So we look at the defense. And the defense of Buffalo, like I said, they're very impressive. Bradham with 7 tackles and a sack. Roby also had a sack as well. And Darby had an interception, and Williams had the other pick. And for the Colts, their leading tackler was Anderson with 8 tackles. Look at the Colts actually had more first downs. They had 23 first downs to just 15 first downs for the Bills. Like I said, they were protecting the ball, though. You don't have to be so proficient on offense as long as you protect the ball and you have that good defense. And then third down conversions. The Colts had more third down conversions. 8 for 15. Buffalo just 5 for 13. And then total net yards, the Bills had 342 versus just 304 for the Colts. And they had more than twice as many rushing yards, as they had 147 rushing yards, just 64 for Indianapolis. Of course, the Colts had more passing yards. They passed the ball 30 more times and had only 45 more net passing yards, with 240 net versus 195 for the Bills. So actually a much more productive day for Tyrod Taylor in a much more limited role. So Luck was asked to do a lot, but he wasn't able to get the job done against this defense of Rex Ryan. Of course, the Buffalo defense was already an excellent defense before Rex got there, but then you add the talent that they have and then the genius that is Rex Ryan on the defensive end of the ball, and you got one of the best defenses in the league. At least that's how they were playing right here, as they shut down one of the premier quarterbacks in the league in Andrew Luck. It was on the road. That's one thing. It was in Buffalo. But Buffalo, they also, like I said, they took care of the ball. And even though they didn't put out a big offensive production necessarily in terms of yards, they did manage the clock to where they had the ball more slightly, but it's still the time of possession. They won that battle 30 minutes and 56 seconds to 29 minutes and 4 seconds. So let me know what you think about this game. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend, and enjoy all the sports.